Alrighty, everybody, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining me here at the Atlanta News First Alert Desk. I'm Savannah Louie, and we have your top 5 stories for this Friday evening, August 18th. It is 8 o'clock, and we are just going to get straight into it, guys. All right. First story I want to inform you about is a troubling story. And you need to know about this if you especially live in DeKalb County or Fulton County. Police are currently searching for a missing 2-year-old boy. The latest developments out of this area are that the boy's father is now under arrest. So all of this first starting just a couple of days ago. We're told that the 2-year-old, his name is Josiah, he was originally reported to be kidnapped just before 11:30 on Wednesday at Aspen Woods Apartments in Decatur. But new developments over just the past several hours here, DeKalb County Police say that their investigation found there was no kidnapping or armed robbery as was originally reported by this child's father. Okay, the child's father is 23-year-old Artavius North, and he is arrested for false statements and false report of a crime. He's facing accusations of falsely reporting his son's kidnapping. Again, this all beginning in DeKalb County, but now East Point Police, they've taken over the investigation as of earlier today. And the department says the toddler was last seen Wednesday at the Elite at Lakeview Apartments, which is where North lives. Earlier today, investigators moved the search to a body of water near that apartment complex. Authorities are in the process of draining the lake to hopefully find that little boy. We spoke to the child's grandfather today, who is absolutely distraught. The family is hoping that little 2-year-old Josiah Mitchell will be found safely and okay, but right now, again, authorities are searching through that lake. As we learn more about this story, we will continue to keep you updated on air and online. Keep up with us at AtlantaNewsFirst.com and the Atlanta News First app for all of those latest developments. All right, I want to move straight ahead here. This is a disturbing story out of Fulton County I have for you. If you've been keeping up with us, especially over the past month, this might seem like a repeat headline. It is not. We are hearing reports of another inmate who has unexpectedly died at the Fulton County Jail. This is the 3rd inmate to die at the Fulton County Jail in just the past month. One of several to die at that jail this year. Extremely disturbing circumstances here. We're hearing reports that 66-year-old Alexander Hawkins is the man who passed earlier just a few hours ago. And he was in the jail, which is interesting, for shoplifting charges. So what happens next? The medical examiner will perform an autopsy and determine that official cause of death. Right now, everything is still under investigation. But again, this comes after a series of people have died at the Fulton County Jail, including one man who passed almost a year ago, found dead in his cell with covered in bug bites. Right now, the Department of Justice is investigating the living conditions at the jail. And locally, leaders are trying to figure out how they can fund an updated $1.69 billion facility. A lot of folks are on the same page here. There are a lot of issues surrounding the jail. It's really just a matter of how do we get those solutions into place here. That's the big question. That's the $1.69 billion question, I should say. All right, moving straight ahead here to another story, developing story we've been following for years now. It is concerning the Atlanta Public Safety Training Facility, or as critics call it, Cop City. If we're going back to the beginning, this whole idea has created a lot of opposition. We know that certain city leaders have been so vocal in wanting this facility to properly train Atlanta police and Atlanta Fire. It would be a huge facility over several acres where these first responders would go to get properly trained. However, opponents don't want it here for a number of reasons. Some of them say we're not supposed to be doing this for our environment. Others say that instead of having increased efforts on police, we need to focus on other methods of keeping people and the community safe. So the latest developments today is over the past couple of months here, we've had people from Atlanta who've been going around trying to collect signatures to get, in an effort to get this issue on the November ballot. They needed to get, I believe it was about 75,000 signatures to get the public's opinion to be on the bill in November. Well, we're learning today that they've collected more than 100,000 signatures, all people opposing the Atlanta Public Safety Training Facility. So here's what happens next. They must turn that paper in on Monday to city officials. By the way, the fact that there was even a petition about this subject, it brought up a ton of animosity, I want to say, between folks who live in the Atlanta-DeKalb County area and also city leaders. Last month, a judge ruled that any Georgia resident could collect signatures for a petition to be put on the November ballot. The city appealed that decision, but ultimately a judge ruled in favor of those opponents. So that is something we're going to keep an eye on, especially as we look toward Monday when this issue is brought forth in front of Atlanta City Council. Any new developments, we will be sure to keep you updated. So stay with us on Monday. That's going to be one of our big stories then. And I want to move to another story that is going to be very big next week surrounding former President Donald Trump. I'm sure you are very well aware of all of the chaos that the former president is in the middle of right now. He is facing 4 indictments in the country, including one here in Atlanta, Fulton County. He is one of 19 people who have been indicted on a series of counts related to alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. So here's what we're expecting next week. Donald Trump and those other folks who have been indicted, they have until noon on Friday to turn themselves in for their arraignment. The deadline is noon on Friday, next Friday, 1 week from now, just under 1 week from now, actually. And there is a little speculation, though, that Trump could turn himself a couple days earlier. This is Fulton County DA Fani Willis, the woman who is responsible for serving those indictments, by the way. Some folks are predicting that Trump could surrender on Wednesday. If you keep up with politics, you know that Wednesday is the first Republican debate. This is a huge deal. We know that Donald Trump is leading in the polls by a huge amount. No other candidate on the Republican side is even close to Trump. And so some folks are saying, well, it could be part of a strategy if he turns himself in on that day that we have the Republican debate. Trump could use these legal troubles to fundraise and campaign, keep the spotlight, kind of what we've seen in the past. Every time that he has been indicted or arraigned, he has taken over all the headlines. So that is something that we could see if he decides to turn himself in on Wednesday. By the way, that GOP debate is going to be in Milwaukee. And again, none of those candidates, the Republican candidates running for that nomination, are remotely close to Donald Trump in those polls. And Donald Trump has previously said he would not be attending the debate. We'll keep you up to date with that one as well. All right, final story I have for you tonight. We want to wish a very happy birthday to a very remarkable woman. I'm going to go ahead and play a quick soundbite for you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carter. You have had a remarkable impact on my life.
And there she is, Miss Rosalynn Carter. She turns 96 today, and we're told she's celebrating with cupcakes and peanut butter ice cream at home. That sounds like my kind of celebration. Rosalynn has done a lot in her 96 years. She has been an advocate for women equality, human rights, and better care for seniors. She has worked to break stigma on mental health and fought for equitable mental health care. She's been a part of building hundreds of homes, if not thousands, for Habitat for Humanity. And she also worked to eradicate the guinea worm. Unfortunately, Rosalynn was diagnosed with dementia, and her husband, former President Jimmy Carter, is currently at home in hospice. So the two will be celebrating her birthday together in Plains. Very low-key celebration there for, again, a very remarkable woman. Happy birthday, Rosalynn. And with that, guys, I want to say thank you so much for joining me tonight. It is always a pleasure to see you. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening and a wonderful weekend as well. Let me make sure everything is all pulled up for my good friend, Patrick P. Patrick, what max are you? Is that right?
Max 2.
Max 2? All right.
Yes. Oh, while you're at it, you mentioned a very important birthday, and I swear I thought you were going to talk about Alan.
Oh, my gosh. Well, to be fair, all right, so if you watch us, you are familiar with Alan Devlin. And is that the right graphic?
That is.
Oh, perfect. All right.
Yeah.
It's Alan's birthday on Sunday. So everybody, if you follow us, if you follow Alan, wish him a happy birthday. Tell him I sent you. It'll make me sound good. Don't say anything about Patrick.
I mean, I brought it up. Just
I know, but it was all my idea, my credit. I got to show the picture of the skyline. You're in here too early.
I'm sorry.
Patrick's so eager. All right, guys, this is too good of a picture not to show you. Beautiful look at the sunset, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. All right, now, Patrick, you can get in there.
It's Friday night. You know what's going on here.
Casual Friday.
Hey, everybody. How y'all are doing? I hope you're having a fantastic end to the work week, and I hope that you're enjoying some of this fantastic weather that we are seeing out there. Temperatures are very comfortable. Dew points very manageable for August. Listen, you're loving me this week because the last couple of days have been nice. You're not going to want to see my face at all next week because things are going to change. There's a lot of first alerts in the forecast. This time, not for storms. Setup's going to be a little bit different. Similar elements, just not the exact same placement. This is what I mean by that. So we've been talking all summer about this area of high pressure. It's been a little bit further to the west of us, at least the bulk of it, over the course of most of the summer. So we've been on the outside edge. Well, next week, it's going to start to scoot towards the east. And as it does, we're going to get up under the dome of high pressure. And we're essentially going to bake every day. And those showers and storms that we were dealing with around it are going to be off to the east of us. So we're going to be rain-free for a large part of this forecast. And we're going to be cooking under this dome of high pressure, which means that we're going to see the hottest air of the year in the forecast next week. Not to mention, we're going to be talking about the potential to set or break records the bulk of the work week next week. Here's what I mean by that. Monday's going to be hot. So it's not on this chart. 96 degrees, that's about 7 or 8 degrees warmer than average, depending on where you are in North Georgia. But 100 degrees on Tuesday. We have not hit 100 degrees, and these are actual temperatures, not those feel-like numbers. We're just going to focus on the actual temperatures for now. Next week, we're going to break down those feel-like numbers. But we have not actually hit 100 degrees on the mercury in 4 years. It was, I want to say, August 16th. It was either the 13th or the 16th. Either way, it was 2019. That was the last time we hit 100 degrees, and we're going to do that on Tuesday, which will not be record-setting, believe it or not. The record was 104, set back in 2007. But on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, we have the potential to either meet or break the record. Another 100-degree afternoon in the forecast on Wednesday, which would put us 2 degrees warmer than the record set back in 2007. 99 degrees on Thursday would put us 1 degree warmer than the record set back in 1983. And 99 degrees on Friday would actually tie a record that hasn't been broken in like 90 years. Not quite 90, but you get it. I'm rounding up for real. 1938 was the last time we were at 99 degrees on that day in history. So the heat is going to be a beast. Before it gets here, let's talk about something that we can be happy about. Something that we can be happy about is the fact that, let me change my height because I am significantly taller than Savannah. We're going to start off with some temperatures in the low 70s for the 8 o'clock hour. Temperatures will gradually climb into the low 80s around lunchtime and sailing into the upper 80s near 90 by around 5 o'clock. So lots going on. I pointed out the Piedmont Park Arts Festival because that kicks off tomorrow, and it's going to be a gorgeous day to take the family out to the park for a walk. I know some people that are trying to jump into a pool for a birthday party. Whatever your vice is, do that outside. Some people just need to mow the grass because it's going to be a little too hot to do that most of next week. And then Music Soul Child will be running up and down the staircase vocally out in Mableton tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And while he will be running vocally, if you wanted to just go for a run outside, I'm going to give you the green light because temperatures are going to be comfortably in the low 80s around the 8 o'clock hour. Mostly clear skies tomorrow night. Going to be a gorgeous evening. Heading into Sunday, you will notice the humidity start to tick up just a little bit. Not so much for the morning church folks that are going to be heading out around 7 to 8 o'clock. But as we get closer to lunchtime, you'll start to see those feel-like numbers are going to be a degree or two warmer than the actual temperature. And by afternoon, some locations are actually going to have heat indices that are going to be in the upper 90s. I'm looking at you down in LaGrange. It is going to be humid, more humid than we've been the last couple of days as we push into your Sunday, so we just want to give you that heads up. But both days are going to be gorgeous, good opportunities to get outside. And honestly, in comparison to what's coming down the pipeline, Sunday is going to be one of those days that are in the win column as well. So you know about the heat, you know about that dominating all of next week. It's going to be hot Tuesday. 96 degrees on Monday, 100 degrees Tuesday. And look at those overnight lows. I know a lot of times on this 7-day graphic, we try to keep it up there 30, 45 seconds to let it just, soak in a little bit. Take a look at those numbers at the bottom. Those are the overnight lows. We're talking about being in the mid to upper 70s as far as the coolest it gets. I think that the record overnight low, if I'm not mistaken, is 82 degrees. So that's the warmest early morning temperature, the warmest it's been overnight, if that makes any sense. And we're going to be close to that territory as we head towards Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So listen, your AC, if it's been on the fritz or whatever, go ahead and make arrangements to be somewhere else. Check on, the elderly, check on your parents, your friends. You don't want people out in this type of heat. Remember to hydrate. That's going to be very important. Heat is a silent killer. It causes a lot of deaths. Folks have heat-related illnesses, and because you can't see it like you see a tornado or like you see floods or like you see a hurricane coming, a lot of times it doesn't really get the time and energy that it should get. And it does not discriminate whether you are 8 years old, 12 years old, 15, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. It just has that impact on us all. And this is one of those weeks where you're just going to really want to be very careful outside. Limit your outdoor activities because this heat is just a beast. And we're going to be rain-free in the 7-day forecast. And I know a lot of you are wondering, well, Patrick, it's going to be hot. It's August. It's supposed to be hot in Georgia. Gotcha. Okay, we're going to be above average through the end of the month is what guidance is showing. There may be a day here or there that may be closer to normal, but the trend should be for us to be somewhere in the 90s through the end of August. That's what all of the guidance is telling you. And honestly, some of the numbers we were looking at today, because your First Alert Weather Team, while we don't publish a 14 or 15-day forecast, we're kind of always looking down the pipeline at what the guidance is showing, diving into the numbers. And unfortunately, that trend is looking to stay hot through next weekend, so we're going to be hot, y'all. It's no joke, for sure. Something else that I wanted to touch on, just because I know that everybody's talking about it. I've seen the posts online. I've seen the memes that people have done with this Hurricane Hilary, which have been hilarious, to be quite frank. But with the Cat 4 hurricane, it's a serious situation. Right now, the winds are sustained at 130 miles per hour. It has started to weaken. It started weakening over the course of this afternoon, to be quite frank. Something that a lot of people don't really know. Where this storm is, the water is kind of warm. But the further north you go, the closer you get to Baja California, the further north that storm travels, it's going to see the water temperatures drop drastically. So the forecast is for this to gradually weaken as it lifts northward. I wanted to talk about the steering pattern because a lot of folks are like, oh, what's going on? Why is this storm going to California? They don't get storms often. A lot of it has to do with the El Nino and stuff like that, but most of it, specifically dealing with this system, has to do with an area of low pressure off of the coast of California and this dome of high pressure that we're talking about that's right now over the southwest folks out in Dallas last night, I think at 7 o'clock, it was 104 degrees. So like they've been dealing with this heat for the bulk of the summer. There's kind of like a little bit of a weakening in airflow in between those two systems, and that's essentially going to lift this storm northward, and it's going to steer it in between the two. So that's why we're going to get this unusual, semi-unusual track with Hilary as we head through the next couple of days. So the forecast is for this to continue to weaken. By tomorrow, we expect those winds to be down to about 120 miles per hour, weakening through the weekend, and by Sunday morning, this should just be a Cat 1 hurricane. I say just because I'm from Louisiana, and so Cat 1s, there's a little bit of a difference between a Cat 1 and a Cat 5 to us, but a Cat 1 will be a situation for those folks to deal with because a lot of this area that's going to get a lot of this rain is desert. And while, Georgia can handle getting rain from our thunderstorms that produce 2 to 3 inches of rain, and we see minimal impacts as far as flooding sometimes, other than a little bit of water on the roads. When you're talking about something that's arid, something that is dry, something that is desert-like, an inch of water, 2 inches of water can be something that is detrimental in the sense of flooding, because when the ground is dry, water does not easily seep through. So whenever it actually rains and the rain falls, only a little bit of that goes into the ground. The rest of that ends up being runoff, which is how you get flooding in a desert. This is something that everybody's concerned about. Death Valley is forecast to get somewhere between 2 and 4 inches of rain, depending on which models you look at. I looked it up. I believe the most rain they've ever gotten in a 24-hour period is about 1.75 inches or 1.5 inches is what I saw. And so if they get 2 to 3 inches of rain in about a 24-hour period, this will be nearly double, depending on that number, the amount of rain that they get. And not only in a 24-hour period, but for some of these locations, it's going to be more rain than they typically get in a year. So this is going to be an issue in the sense of flooding. There's a lot of conversation going on about that. There's also, with it being dry out there and a lot of the water shortages and stuff like that. Obviously, some folks are going to benefit from this in the sense of the runoff getting into the aquifers and stuff. But a very serious issue is going to end up playing out in some locations where there could be some serious flooding. So praying for those folks. They're already preparing, and you can only prepare so much, especially whenever you're not in an area that typically gets systems. I just don't want any of our viewers to kind of be desensitized to a Cat 1 hurricane or a tropical storm making landfall in California, considering we get Cat 1s, Cat 2s at the coast, and they come in and we get 50, 60 miles per hour wind gusts and a bunch of rain, and it's no biggie for us. Other than power outage, it's going to be a bigger deal there because they're not used to it, and we're not an arid climate. They are. So hopefully I've explained to you all you wanted to know about this and why everyone's making a big deal about the this tropical system that's going to make its way into California. It's a lot of y'all on the YouTube right now watching us. What's going on? I sound like my grandpa. The YouTube. It's a lot of you all on YouTube watching us. I hope you are having a fantastic evening. And if you guys have any questions, go ahead and shoot them. Hey to everybody at home. I know that a lot of you are joining us streaming on our Atlanta News First app, or if you may actually have the actual channel programmed in. Hopefully this information has been a little bit useful. We can typically do a little bit of a deeper dive whenever we have this side show. But since I think that I've answered everything, I'm gonna go ahead and leave you all with the 7-day forecast. First, give you a fair shot of our beautiful city, and then back up my graphics to the 7-day forecast. It's a lot of heat, y'all. Let y'all soak in all of those 4 first alerts. Our first alerts are heads up to weather that is going to be impactful to you outside of the norm or what you've seen as of late. And with the heat that's going to just be ridiculous, we wanted to make sure that you all are prepared. So go ahead and screenshot that, do whichever, take a picture of it, prepare for it. We're going to constantly be updating our First Alert weather app as we get more data in with this heat. A couple of these days may need to be trended up a number or so. Meteorologist Fred Campagna and myself are going to take a look at some of this data tonight. We're going to have a little bit of a break that we can look at some new fresh model data, and he will have an updated look at these temperatures, which don't be surprised if you see a 101 somewhere in here. We'll catch you tonight at 11 on on Atlanta News First. Happy Friday.